anyone wants to have this kind of testing and they don't know anything about the world, but they don't have the time to go into an internship, for example, I would recommend and suggest to participate in these competitions because they are big simulations of what is happening in the real life. Everyone calls me Mer, so you can call me Mer if you want. And if I give you some background about me, I just finished the MBA a few months ago, and before the MBA, I was doing consulting and Amazon. I was always in the supply chain side in operations, so specializing in that part of the company. And during the MBA, I did 2 internships, one in strategic consulting in Kearney and the second one in BC, in Big Sur in Madrid. I was remote because the second internship in BC, it was part-time while I was also going to classes. So the first one was of consulting was during my summer, 2 months, and the second one was from September to December after my classes in the afternoon.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Now we're going to unpack like sections of your journey leading up to today, starting with education. So I see that you did your bachelor's in industrial organization engineering, specifically production and logistics, which feeds into your career, which is interesting because I also have a supply chain background before I came here. After that, you did your economic financial management master's, and then you also went on to pursue an MBA. So I wanted to understand what made you pursue an MBA. Like, why did you come to IESE, and what were you hoping to do with an MBA?
Yeah, so mainly because, and maybe the reason that why I started doing why I was thinking about doing an MBA has changed during the 2 years of the MBA. But initially was because indeed I as you said, I studied industrial engineering. So I was like an expert in operations, and I knew exactly how all the raw materials go into the production until the customer has the final product. But I didn't know how the money was in the flow of the process from the raw materials to the final product. So, and when I was talking with a lot of people like from finance departments in consulting projects, I understood that indeed I didn't know anything about finance. And so I think that the MBA for someone that has studied engineering is like the perfect pack, because you can like complete the educational part of the whole process of a business. And if you want to go into a business in the future, is like the closing cycle to understand everything, how it works, marketing, human resources, how to manage the organization, how to manage the money between all the processes. So I think that it was like super complementary to my education. It was some kind of different, but some kind of equal. Like in terms of how you were treating the client, what they were expecting from me, it was almost the same about Deloitte, but how they did it and how I was working, it was very different from Deloitte. Just because in Deloitte I was only focusing on the part of supply chain, and indeed when I was in Kearney, I was focusing in not only in supply chain but also in real estate, in human resources, also in operations, but on top of other departments that they could impact on the EBIT. And indeed, I think that the MBA gave me like a lot of knowledge that I didn't know before at Deloitte, and I could add more value in the other departments that I was never there. And for example, in the part of operations, I completely know. I was completely aware how the working capital was impacting on the P&L, and that how it was a saving for the company if we were treating the inventory some way or in another. That when I was at Deloitte, it was quite different because it was only focused on the operational side more than in the financial side. So I think that when you are working in strategic consulting, your perspective goes broader and you can see different perspectives from the company, not only the operation sides. I think that it was the main different thing that it was when I was working from Deloitte to Kearney.
Okay, excellent. And that's something I did want to hear because a lot of people who do a consulting internship or a job after an MBA, they get to step back and zoom out and see exactly how the entire organization is working end to end. So it's good that you had that experience, especially for someone who's coming into the MBA. Listening to this would be really reassuring. So you did your summer internship in consulting. You got the full experience of looking at a business end to end. You have your financial knowledge. You already had the operational knowledge. What made you think about pivoting into VC right after that?
Yeah, so it was kind like of an organic interest. I don't know how to say it, but it was super organic. I mean, I was super focused. You know that when you start the MBA in the first year, you start from September to December to prepare the interviews, whether to bank, investing, or consulting. So, as my primary interest was to enter to strategic consulting, I was only focused on consulting until January that the interviews were finished. And from there to May, that it was the rest of the first year course, I started to participate in a lot of clubs and everything that I couldn't do it because I was in consulting, like healthcare, venture capital, private equity, impact investing. And I think that the participating in a challenge that it was a impact investing competition in IESE, it was the first time that I realized how I love the work of searching for a company, try to do the due diligence for the company, and convince fund to invest on them. So this work, I love it during the rest of the first year of the MBA, and I was like, okay, I love consulting, but indeed I love it because it was my first job as before, and in the internship I knew that I was going to enjoy it, but I also wanted to invest my time of second year trying to understand if there were a lot of more paths in my career that I could follow rather than consulting. I don't know, because right now I am super focused in consulting, but you never know. Maybe I am 2 years or 3 years in consulting, and then I just want to change my career path and change to venture capital because I enjoy it very much during the internship. So that's why it was like super organic. Like I was very interested in the part of finance and due diligence and the startups. Maybe I want to entrepreneur in some time. Being in that side of the venture capital, you learn a lot from the founders, from the looking for different companies. You learn a lot also from the ecosystem in the country, how it is to raise money. You learn that so much things that you need to entrepreneur that I was like, okay, I don't know if I am going to be in venture capital. I don't know if I am going to entrepreneur in the future, but I know that if I am in venture capital for another internship, I am going to learn a lot. I don't know for what, but for my life, for sure. So that's why once I had the offer of consulting I remember that it was like the last week of July because my internship was finished the 31st of July. I remember that they called me, I had the offer, and then I was like, okay, now I need to prepare myself to organize because you know that in second year you have a lot of free time because they expect you to search for a job. But in my case, I had the lucky that I had already the offer. So I was like, okay, the time that I need to invest on looking for a job, I can invest it in things that I can learn or I can try to test. So that's why I decided to go to venture capital because I had the time. I was interested. Maybe at some point in my career I want to focus on that. I don't know, but that was the reason why.
So, zooming further into your VC internship, I'd like to understand, how did that opportunity come about? Was it something that you saw an application you applied to, or was it through networking? How exactly did that first contact happen leading into the offer from Big Sur Ventures?
Yeah, so venture capital is a quite niche industry. At least in Spain, everyone knows everyone. It's something that works because of the network and the connections that you have. And indeed, I think that parallel to that, in IESE we have a very good and great club that it is PVC, that they do a great job of looking for opportunities and put the opportunities into the. We have a group in WhatsApp, and everyone posts a lot of opportunities there, so people can apply there. So in my case, was super easy and organic. I was like in the club, and then suddenly I remember that the first week of August, it was posted a message of an announcement from Leon Herrera, that he is the principal from Big Sur, that he is an alumni from IESE. I don't know when he did it. Maybe, I think that it was like 3 or 4 years ago. And he posted like, okay, I need one Spanish speaker native for being an analyst, a fellow of MBA in my company in Big Sur. He put the conditions, and he put like, okay, now you have to tell me like what startup would you invest and why, like a small and concise question. And I remember that the first week of August, I was like, just okay, I have the offer. I need now to know how to invest my time in the second year. And I was like, okay, I will do it. And I just tried it. I investigated about Big Sur Ventures. I answered the question about what the startup that I knew indeed before, that it was from a friend, so I did the due diligence of that, doing the key metrics, and then I just sent it to Leon, and he told me, okay, I love it. Let's do an interview at the end of August. So I went there. I did an interview of 1 hour, and then he told me, okay, you have time. If you have time, let's do the second interview right now with the partner. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And just he came the partner, and I did the second interview, and he told me, okay, in 1 week you will know something about me. And then suddenly, like the next week, like the first week of September, that I hadn't started yet the MBA of second year. I just had the call like, okay, if you want, you can join us. We need this. And also it was super easy because the principal, Leon, was alumni. So he was like, I know exactly what are you doing in second year, so I know what I can expect from you, and how I can push you, and how I cannot push you because you have another things to do. And I was like, yes, totally, because you know that in second year maybe you have 1 Monday entire of full day of classes, but then you have a Tuesday that it is completely empty. So he was super flexible with me, like, you can manage whatever your time, just be on time off with the deliveries, and that's it.
Okay, excellent. I mean, time and time again from current students and alumni, we keep hearing how the ESA alumni network is so strong. And this is such a classic example of how exactly that works. So that'll be a great listener for new incoming students.
Completely.
So,
and our recommendation is that everyone that wants to enter into a VC, I would recommend to stay connected to the alumni network, and also stay connected into the ecosystem that they want to enter. Like if they want to go into VC in Berlin, so try to stay connected with the people from Berlin, because they know exactly how it works, and they're going to send you the leads to finally go into opportunity.
No, makes sense completely. Now, tell me about how the internship went. Like, how did you balance that with the coursework at ESA for the second year? How many hours did you spend a week? And was it was it like manageable as you expected, or did it get a bit too much?
Yeah, so is quite complicated because I was like in a lot of clubs involved in second year. So for me, it was difficult to manage, but just because I was in PVC club, we were starting the Spanish Business Club. We were starting. I was managing also the core club, and also I was involved. I wasn't involved, but they involved me in consulting club, and completely fair enough because I wanted to also to give back everything that I received in first year. So I was also helping the consulting club to prepare the interviews for the people because it was at the same time that the internship. So from my side, it was like a quite overwhelming term because I was with a lot of things. But indeed, I think that if you are only focused on academics and the internship of venture capital, for me, it will be super easy because, first of all, as I said before, Leon, my principal, was completely aware of about everything in second year, how it works. So he was super flexible with me, and I could perfectly do not to connect one day, but the second day I was connecting the full day. So it was super flexible. For example, if I could not do anything during the afternoon because I was in a teamwork meeting or something like that, then I could go to home and work from home until, I don't know, until after dinner, but finish the deliveries that I had. It wasn't overwhelming for me, but because I had the luck of being with an alumni that he perfectly knew everything that was going on in my life in my term.
Takeaway is that if you're not involved in way too many club activities and you're focused on what exactly you want to get out of this, it should be manageable with your coursework.
Yes. Also, I think I was 20 hours a week.
Okay.
I think that maybe it is too much, but just because you want to be also involved in MBA things. So maybe it is better, and I would recommend that if anyone do second internship while going to classes, reduce these hours to 15 or 10 hours.
Makes sense. And also depends if you're working with an ESA alum who knows what ESA entails or not. So in this second internship in VC, what kind of tasks were you involved in day to day?
I told Leon, like, okay, I am here not for the money, I am here only for learning about the venture capital experience. And he was a great teacher that he put me like every week in a different stage of the deal, so I could be involved in every part of the process, and I could see everything. So every week was very different. I started doing like scouting, like searching for companies that they were interesting for Big Sur, that we wanted to invest. Then I also participated in analyzing that companies and putting into the key metrics, analyzing the cohort analysis, looking into the market size, if it was true, if it's not. Also, I was involved in the part of talking with the founder and doing like the first initial interviews to learn more about the company. Then also when we selected one company, also involved in how to present that company to the partners so they could be convinced that we had to invest in that company, and also in preparing the documents once we have decided everyone that it was the company to invest. So also in preparing that documents to the investing thesis of the company. So it was quite different. I cannot say you a normal day because every week was completely different. But always I started my day like talking with Leon. Okay, Leon, today this is my availability. I can connect at that time. So he knew perfectly when I was connecting, and when I connected, he just give me like the instructions, like, okay, today this week the objectives are this, and this. Let's do it. Call me if you have any doubt. I was calling him at every time. And then I was doing the job by myself, it was a job that it wasn't super depending on the on the team.
So, Mer, tell us about like your work at Big Sur Ventures. You were at different points of the investment cycle, but what was the work like in terms of was it what stage of investing was the company at? What geography were they sector specific? So give us a bit more about the work itself.
Yeah. So in Big Sur Ventures, we were working on trying to invest in companies that they were like focused on ESG. Um, Ideally, tech companies, fintech, clean tech, climate tech, sorry, health tech, everything that it is tech, and also it is focused on ESG at some point. You know that in Europe we have a lot of regulations, so this thing can accelerate any kind of fundraising in a company that it is completely aligned with the direction that Europe is going on. So we were trying to be aligned on that.
Okay, cool. And that also nicely ties into your experience with the ESA impact competition before, right, in your first year. So I think that experience would have been useful in your internship as well.
Yes, a lot. Indeed, I didn't know anything about before about investing and this world of an environment, and everything that I knew before, I was taught by my teammates of the impact investment competition. It was amazing. They teach me a lot. We had Janmin, that Janmin had worked before in VCs in China, and she was like the master, and she was like teaching everyone like, okay, we have to do this, 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 this. This is necessary to the investors to have it because for them they are key metrics that they are always looking on. So I think that this experience that I had in IESE, it was very useful to me. And if anyone wants to have this kind of testing and they don't know anything about the world, but they don't have the time to go into an internship, for example, I would recommend and suggest to participate in these competitions because they are big simulations of what is happening in the real life.
No, I think we're going to use that snippet for the beginning of the video because that's great advice. Let's talk about your reflections on the internship itself. Uh, Without a traditional like investing or VC background, and you yourself said you wanted to know financials a bit more when you came into the MBA, did you feel that was a hurdle while working at Big Sur? Did you feel a little uncomfortable going into a VC internship without traditional financial background? What was that like, and how did you navigate it?
I think that maybe it is something super pro MBA, but I think that the MBA gives you the necessary knowledge about VC. Maybe also I was in a very easy way of understanding everything because I was in the course of entrepreneurial finance MFI in second year, and I remember that every time that we had a class, I just went into the case, and it was like the same thing that I was doing in the VC. So it is super aligned, and for me, only doing the MBA was completely enough to understand what was happening in the VC. Also, my team in Big Sur in the VC was amazing, and they were trying to. If I didn't understand anything, they were super helpful to make me clear what were they explaining in the meeting. But I think that the MBA gives you a big base of knowledge where you can start to grow and keep try to broaden your knowledge in the VC without having more things in your table rather than studying MFI, for example.
Okay, nice. That's reassuring because I have taken NFI for next year, so I'm very happy that you said that.
Yes, it's amazing. You will love it. It's amazing, super structured. It's like they structure everything that you don't have a structure in the VC. So
Okay,
it helps
nice.
you.
Cool. So we're coming towards the last couple of questions. So I want to know now, just like two, three main things that a student who's looking to work part-time in year two in VC should focus on.
Main important point, if I structure in 3 points, the first one is that you cannot go for the money. you have to go because you want to learn and because it's the time of your life that you can spend a lot of hours learning. And if you go for the money, it wouldn't worth it, and you would not be motivated because in being in a part-time job doesn't give you the money enough to cover the expenses of the MBA. So if you are looking for the money and to have a side job because you need some kind of financiation during the MBA, I think that it is not the objective. I think that you should go for learning. This is the first thing. The second point is that you have to be clearly focused on what do you want to do. What I am is what I didn't do. I didn't prioritize the things that I wanted. So I was in a lot of things. That it's amazing because I could do everything, but it's some kind of overwhelming. So stay focused. And if you want to do a double internship and be in internship during classes, just do that. Don't try to be in a lot of things because in Spanish we say quien mucho abarca poco aprieta. That it means that if you go to a lot of things, you are not going to be in anyone. And the third point, maybe I will say that don't leave the MBA apart because of the second internship, because it's an opportunity that you're not going to have in any time of your life. It's a great opportunity to learn, but the MBA is going to be unique and it's going to be only 1 year more. So I would recommend you to everyone that is going to do a second internship, that this second internship, if it is taking a lot of time from you and you cannot go through the full experience of the MBA, being with your mates, truly learning from other professors, from other alumni and everything, doesn't worth it. So try to be in a venture capital that can allow you to do that.
I want to do like a quick rapid fire kind of a question. I'm going to ask you a question, and whatever is the first thing that pops up into your mind, 1 or 2 words, just shoot it out. Cool?
Okay.
First one. What's one common misconception about VC that you uncovered after you did your internship?
Okay, seems like every time you are in a coffee chat, interviewing founders, that is amazing, yes, but you spend a lot of time analyzing and doing the work by your own of doing the market size, the cohort analysis, trying to understand the competitors, everything. The due diligence has to be done. So you think that everyone is like always in coffee chats, lunch and dinners or some afterwards to know people and try to know about more deals, but yes, but the main part of the time you are analyzing.
Okay. So it's more math than we know and less networking than we see.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Second one, if you could invest in any sector today, suppose you had your own fund, what sector would you invest in and why?
Maybe I think that fintech, but just because I think that it's a sector that has a lot of opportunities to grow, and I think that we haven't seen everything yet. So maybe fintech, yeah.
Okay, nice. And lastly, for our listeners who are curious about VC, is there any resource, a book, podcast, newsletter that you would recommend for them to kind of get some more knowledge on VC before they dive in?
Okay. This, I don't like it because this recommendation is only for Spanish speakers.
That's
and
fine.
I would love that it was for everyone, but maybe can have translation. I don't know. But there is a podcast in Spotify that it is called ITNIC. It is ITNIEG. That amazing. It's amazing. I love it. I love how they go through the interviews with the founders. They are super close with them, and you not only know about how they are the founders, but also a lot of industries and kind of different startups. I love it. For me, I love it. I will recommend you to listen it.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I really appreciate you taking out the time to sit with us and talk through your entire journey. And Prerna and I were just talking about already how useful it is for us as two people to learn from you. So it's only going to be that much more impactful for incoming first years. So thank you so much for coming.
No, thanks a lot for everything you do. I think that it is the spirit of a MBA, like giving back everything. And I love that next generations, they are still pushing of making a big community of people going into BC and try to catch all the opportunities that you can. So amazing.